Are you looking for a podcast where you can hear from real people regarding their real dental drama? If so, then you've come to the right place. Join hosts Bethany Petty and Dr. Rena Kuba as we dive into the solutions we've created and the mistakes we've made while managing dental drama. Let's get started.
It's me. Hi. I'm Cranky Pants. It's me. Hello. I wanted to talk about, so I'm just being crusty right now.
Yes.
Imagine that, me.
No,
this,
what?
This epitome of rainbow and sunshines and glitter. But I'm just a little peeved right now, and I just feel like if I could vent it to you, and hopefully, I'm probably going to piss off half your audience, by the way.
Well, we'll deal with that on the back end. We'll know.
Well, because I won't know. You have to deal with it on the back end. So I guess I'm apologizing in advance that I'm going to really upset your listeners. Although, I would say a handful will be like, yes.
Yes.
I
You'll connect
agree
with a few.
Yes, I will. But I think a lot of listeners, because I guess you've told me recently that there, like, as far as you know, there's more team members that are listening, which...
Hello, team members.
Hi. But I'm going to pretend like they're not, because I don't know. And this is my chance to vent my truth, and then you correct me where I need to be, but because this is me being not so nice to team members here, so... which I know we need them, and I can't do my job without them.
And we love you, and we appreciate you.
We do, but this is my chance to vent about...
Yes, so we have to pretend like you're not here.
Yeah, they're not. So, what has brought this up in my mind is this week has been Assistance Week, National Assist RDA Week, whatever it's called, and then Hygiene Recognition Week is April, but then I know Hygiene something or another is in October as well.
Right.
I don't know why there's two. And then something about National Dentist Day. I'm like, why? I've never heard of this before. And then suddenly we're getting gifts and blankets that say, you're a good dentist, like whatever. Okay. So all of that to say, like, I've always laughed at these prefabricated days, whatever they are. And normally, like me going, yay, something to cheer about today. Yay, today's National Tire Day. I'm so grateful for my tires.
I mean, we celebrate everything now, from donuts to bagels to, I wouldn't be surprised if there's a dog poop day on there. I mean, who knows?
Yay, it's National Gray Hair Day. Yahoo. Anywho, so I'm just kind of chuckling here going, but one of my assistants did say, like, she was not asking for anything, but it was almost like, can I post this about Assistant Week? And I was like, yeah, sure. And I didn't say anything else about it because I was like, if that was my hint to take the ball and go do something with it, I'm not taking the ball.
With it,
yeah, no, the ball just went right past me, and I pretended like I didn't see it. So I've never celebrated these days.
Yeah.
And so we can get into why here. And then it made me think of, at one point you asked me about anniversaries, and how I celebrate anniversaries in my office, and I kind of have the same mentality as to why I don't recognize these other days. And so I also then, it made me think, anyway, there's several things that I think fall under the umbrella of expectations.
Right.
And I think as a dentist and a practice owner, I think that wears us out in more ways than anybody could ever imagine, because we are supposed to be giving of ourselves and our services and our talents, and that's what we signed up to do, was to help people. And then now, people that are owners are going, oh, my work family, and I'm in charge of my work family.
Right.
And so that's a responsibility. I'm in charge of my home family as well. And I guess, like, same in your house, like, when your kids are acting entitled or your spouse is acting entitled, I think it just drains on you, and it's hard to figure out where to draw that boundary, I guess. And so I guess that, to me, like, these days come up and I'm just like, already do enough, get out of here. You're making me feel like I'm not being a good person by not recognizing these days.
Yeah.
So, and then I go, well, or am I not? Am I not being a good person? Or is this meant to be, like, should I not do anything else and only recognize these days? So Case in point, we've got a guy who's kind of been helping us right now, and he messaged me the night before because he was going to be coming on Tuesday, and he's like, hey, I'm so sorry, I totally forgot that it's assistant week. What do you need me to do for the assist? Like, he's so sweet. And I'm like, nothing. I don't need you to do anything. So I can get into my what and why. I'll quit babbling now, but I kind of want to know from you, am I just being a crust today? Or what are your thoughts? Like, I haven't had a bad week, but I just feel like my guard is up because people want things from me. And I'm like, what do you want now?
Right. No, I would say you are not alone in this, because there has been this expectation shift that I definitely think has happened. We've felt it in a lot of different ways since the pandemic, which you and I've talked about a lot, but I feel like these weeks, it's almost like it puts a big old spotlight on it. Like, here it is again. More. People want more. And I feel like I'm already giving so much. And so it's created this environment of, well, you're doomed if you do and doomed if you don't. Like,
That's
okay,
exactly
great.
how I feel.
I'm going to go all in on this, and now I'm going to be held to that standard every year after this. But if I don't, there's plenty of social media posts from all these other people that are doing things for their assistants, and now I look like the cheapskate because I haven't done anything. And it puts dentists in a really tough situation. And I'll be honest, I kind of toe the line on this because I want staff members to feel heard and appreciated and seen and respected and all of that. That's super important. But at the same time, this has become a pressure pot situation for practice owners. When I say this, like in general, practice ownership is so much more stressful now than it was 4 years ago. So I feel like I'm delicately trying to protect my clients as well from yet another requirement being put on them. And so, to me, we've got to be really careful with what we commit to here. I think it all depends. So there's a lot of different various factors. Number one, you celebrate your team very repetitively throughout the year. You do lots of stuff to show your appreciation. And that is one thing that your team members will say to anybody that they meet, is she does so much for us. She's so giving and all of that. If you didn't do that, I would say, okay, pick these weeks. This is going to be your accountability going forward. You make a big deal about these weeks and do some really nice stuff, and those are going to be your tokens of appreciation that occur throughout the year. That's not the case with you. You do so much above and beyond that I would not recommend you changing your position on this because it's not needed, to be perfectly honest. Now, do we get down to, do we even acknowledge the week? Which it sounds like that's what your team member was trying to throw the ball to you to say, hey, why don't you at least acknowledge this week? And maybe she wasn't. But I would say stick with what you've been doing. If you've never acknowledged it before and you do all these other things throughout the year, then there's honestly no reason to acknowledge it going forward. And with your team in particular, I don't think there's not going to be one bitter bone in their body because of all the other things that you do.
Well, I don't know about that because it seems like everybody's always now like I was slighted for something, so I wouldn't be surprised. Like, nobody has said anything yet, but I wouldn't be surprised if there was a comment coming from one way or the other. And a lot of times I wonder, or I'm waiting for it from a newer employee because they don't know, and maybe they came from an office that they were celebrated during that time. But I think for me, the reasons I haven't, exactly what you said, and that's when this doctor was like, oh my gosh, should I help with something? And I'm like, no, I do enough. And he's like, yeah, you do. Because we just came off of Valentine's where they all got roses delivered to them and a dinner and whatever. And now spring break is coming for us next week. And I've got lunches coming in every day during spring break. And so I guess for me, the reason, when I'm going back and going, how did I end up this way? Because you would think I would recognize these weeks. So why did I never start doing it? So I had to kind of go back and go, what happened? I think, first of all, I don't know that there was that much emphasis when I started my office in all these weeks. And now I say that, and I remember there was assistant week because I remember when I was an associate, I remember he would do something. But I don't remember hygiene day, and I don't remember whatever. And for that matter, bosses day, I've got like 3 people in the office who say happy bosses day to me.
Yeah.
That's it. So it's like, I've never seen y'all acknowledge me. Why am I acknowledging you?
Right.
So that's a bit petty, I suppose. But when I was an associate, everybody made a big deal about bosses day for him. And so anyway, I think for me, where I go, I think I didn't, because when you start the practice, there's so many things. And then by the time it was like, oh, shoot, was that this week? Now, do I look like an ass for saying it late? Should I? Okay, I'm just not going to say it. Nobody else has said it. And so I think that's how it kind of evolved, that you start off with a small team, or at least I did. 2 people. What are we celebrating? Like, whatever. Let's move on, right? And by the time I realized that this is something, and I've got a staff of 5 or 6, now I'm like, oh, now I feel bad. And it almost felt like it was very... like I'm supposed to.
That's exactly what I was about to say. A gift feels different when you're told you have to give it than just out of the goodness of your heart, randomly or spontaneously, or let me do it according to my schedule and when I want to show tokens of appreciation. And so for you, I'm not surprised at all that you reject these times, because it's like, don't tell me how to show love and appreciation to my team.
But see, but I don't even have that problem. Mine's the opposite. Mine's like, if I was the recipient, I'd be like, oh, she got me something because she has to, because it's assistant week. Almost like, oh, you got me flowers on Valentine's Day because that's what you're supposed to do. Well, please don't. I don't want chocolates. I don't want anything. Like, don't take me out to dinner that night, because that is so generic and thoughtless.
Yes.
I want you to go on a random day. And we were laughing last week. The day my husband proposed to me was this random Tuesday, the first week of March. So I wasn't expecting it. Well, I think he was going to do something like Valentine's Day, but then the ring got delayed and whatever. So he ends up doing this random day because he was going to be going out of town the next day and not coming back. And he didn't want to just sit on the ring. So it was like, so we remember this day because there was no way I was expecting a ring on a random Tuesday night.
Yes.
And so that's more like me. It's not even me, the gifter. It's me as the giftee going, this isn't special. You're just doing it because you had to.
Exactly.
So I think that was some of it. But now, so it's like, okay, so now, and again, luckily so far, nobody on my team has said something, but it did make me go, why do I have to, is this the time that I'm supposed to now? And it's supposed to be this never ending streak of, But I guess to your point, I mean, I made this suggestion to other people I know that I'm like, if you don't do anything, then why don't you use this as your built-in?
Right.
And so if you're not doing anything else and that stresses you out, then this maybe could be your moment to remember, like you said.
I agree completely. Or if we need accountability for that, if we're not the natural gift giver or lots of accolades to our teammates or team building, if we struggle with that every year and we need something or some date to hold us accountable, let these be your dates. And then okay, I'm going to do dental assistant week up right, and hygiene week up, and a business assistant week, or whatever they call it, administrative assistant week, day, administrative, anyway. Make this your
who can even keep track of? Is it a week, a day, a month? Like, what? I cannot keep up. There is too much going on, right?
Well, and I remember one of them is a day. Okay. I think it's administrative assistant day.
See, I thought that was a week.
Maybe it's a week.
Well, see, and that's why it's dentist day. We got one day, and all the rest get the whole week. Why not?
Well, and it makes it hard too, because then there's this comparison that can start. Like, oh, but for the dental assistants, you did this, and then on the next day you did this, and then on the next day. But we just had, I'm just going to go with we had administrative assistant day, and all we got was lunch on that day. It just, I don't know. It's
so that
tricky.
Was my other thing where I was like, and that's going to lead me to the anniversary. So that's where, to one colleague, I was like, why don't you pick one restaurant? And I don't want it to be Papa John's or Chick-fil-A. I want you to pick somewhere a little bit nicer, I don't know, a barbecue place or whatever. Yeah. Or if you've never brought pizza or Chick-fil-A, and maybe it could be whatever, right? Pick a place, but then that's your place for the year, so that one day, whether it's a day or the week, whatever it is, so once will be from that same restaurant for the RDAs. And then it'll be the same restaurant, maybe even the same exact menu items.
Yes.
That way you're not going to get caught in the crosshairs between, well, they got, like, pick the one thing.
Yeah.
Which brings me to staff anniversaries. I think you asked me about that. And you were like, I guess you had a client somewhere, whatever, that didn't know what to do to celebrate. And you were asking me.
It's a struggle all the time.
Yeah. And I'm like, you're like, what do you do? I'm like, that would be a great big nothing. So I know that threw you
like,
for a loop.
let me think about
because,
this. Nothing.
Don't do anything. I think part of it too, because for me, my gifting is my love language, I guess. And I've got to want to gift you something because it truly does. I've really thought about who is going to get this and why you would like it and who wouldn't, right? So to me, if I have to give you something, then to me, I'm just like, I don't feel good about. But what if I don't like you at that moment? What if I'm like, oh, it's your 1-year anniversary. I should have fired you last week, but now it's too close to your anniversary. So, and now I'm supposed to get you a gift on top of it. Like, I wish you weren't here. The gift is the job. And so, no, nobody on my team have I ever thought about that about anybody.
No.
Yeah, none of your clients, none of my clients. It's just what I can
random
imagine.
thought.
Yeah. So I think it's almost like when we talk about like we don't do the raises at a year because it becomes an expectation. So I think for me, the problem is by the time I had a staff big enough to where I'm like, oh, wait, because when I had been there a year, I lost all my staff.
Yeah.
Because I was going on maternity leave. The one assistant told me I was the rudest doctor she'd ever worked for. The other one told me she could only do RDA. She was not comfortable doing front desk. So I literally lost my entire team of 2. The one office manager person. And then, so anyway, I think for me, it was like, what anniversaries, right?
Yeah.
And by the time I thought of it, I was like, well, wait a minute, it's her 2nd, but that means it's her 4th, but I've never recognized her.
So then now what do you do?
So now what do you do, right? So I think for me then I was like, okay, I'm going to pretend like this doesn't exist. And I have. And so I think the only time I've recognized it was a 10-year.
Yeah.
And I've only had one person hit the 10-year.
Yeah.
And then I started kind of backtracking where I did, once people hit 3 years or 5 years, I kind of started giving some of those people a gift. And I debated going, do I give it in front of everybody because that way people can see, look what you get for longevity and look whatever. But then I was like, no, because then that's where they're going to start comparing. You gave her this, you gave her that. And frankly, it's even as simple as, even without thinking of that far, I don't remember.
Yeah.
I'm like, did I give you $100? Did I give you 50? Did I give you 200? I have no idea what I gave you. And now if you go and ask so-and-so, oh, look, she gave me this for my 3-year anniversary. And they're like, what? I got a $50 gift card. Why'd you get? So I was like, okay, that I've never kept track.
It's too much to keep track of.
It's too much to keep track. So I think what we have it kind of built into our, once you're there 3 years, you get an extra PTO day. You accrue more PTO, and you get the 2 extra vacation days. So where most people do the 6 paid holidays, we added in day after Thanksgiving and Christmas Eve. But you don't get those until you've been there for 3 years. So to me, that's how I kind of built in my appreciation, if you will. But yeah, no, I've just kind of refused to do anything else because to me, then I start going, okay, I mean, I get it. Like for somebody who's been there for 5 years or 4 years, or we just had one who's been there for 2 years. And I almost wanted to celebrate her. And I was like, no, you've never done it before. Don't start that now.
Yeah.
Because you never know who before is going to be like, you never, and so or if somebody's been there for 15 years or 20, I mean, like, yes, that is a milestone. And obviously I appreciate that and I'm grateful. But I guess to me, it's almost like it's a give and take. Like, yes, you've served me, but I've served you too.
Right.
So where's my gift for 10 years of accommodating your schedule, giving you raises, giving you a job and a safe place to work? Like, do I get a gift for that? No, nobody will even say happy boss's day to me. I'll have like 2 people that give me a birthday card. Like, so what if, I guess to me, that's where I start going. I almost view it like a marriage. If there's going to be an anniversary and my husband keeps giving me a diamond bracelet and I give him nothing, no, that's not okay either. So maybe that's the wrong way to think about it, but that's how I think.
Yeah. Well, and I think it's good to hear your perspective on it, because I think a lot of practice owners struggle with this. I think there is this pressure to do certain things. And I think you said it really well at the beginning of this, where it's just like something else that somebody's trying to take. Gimme, 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 gimme. And I do feel like that's how a lot of practice owners feel. And from the perspective of the staff, they're not thinking about necessarily all the stress or all the commitment that has come from you to train them, to send them off to this course and that course. And you've invested time in, performance reviews and raises and, trying to make it an exciting work environment. You've put a lot of thought, practice owners put a lot of thought into that for the most part. And so I think it is disappointing when you get to that anniversary and you're like, and they want something from me. And I don't know. I think expectations is one of those things where, yes, we can each have our own expectations, but I think we need to spend more time tempering those expectations. I think the world of social media has hurt us so much when it comes to this, because I hear team members all the time that are like, oh, but this office, did you know that this office down the street, they go and do this? And then this doctor takes his team to go and do this. And all we do is XYZ. Yeah. But how much harder is that team having to work? How many more hours is that team having to put in? How stressed is that doctor because his overhead is higher than it needs to be? So yes, you see the beautiful side of it where his team has gotten to go on these fun things, but there could very well be a dark side to that you have no clue about.
And I wouldn't say there very well be. There is,
Yeah.
period. There's always a give and take. That's not the Kuba law. That's the nature of physics. It's one thing I learned from physics. What goes up must come down. What things balance. Like what gives needs to be replenished. You know what I mean? Whatever that phrase is. And see, maybe I didn't even learn that in physics. But like, it's just put in another spot. So if somebody's taking their staff to Hawaii, I can guarantee you that staff's had to work multiple Saturdays. They've had to come in at 6 a.m. and maybe not all year, but they've had to do extra things
To get the production
to get
a
that.
point.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's people, money's just literally not growing on trees. And this doctor like found the tree and went and got it. No, they busted it for that. And they made sacrifices for that.
Right.
Same as like anything we do in our lives. Like, yeah, I sacrificed and went to school a little bit longer and live like a poor person for longer so that I could come now and own my own dental practice.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's just the nature of what we do. And some people get lucky and some people don't. But I think for somebody to look at what somebody else is doing and leave those rose-tinted glasses on, like, oh, well, it's almost like, oh, so-and-so's husband is so great. Look what all he did for her. And then you come around and you're like, actually, he beats her. He, gives
Yells
her,
at
give
her.
Yeah, like, so I think that's what people miss. And I think to me, when I do feel very heavily worn down by all of this, I start going, okay, does Starbucks do something for their anniversaries? I don't think so. Maybe they do. But I'm not aware. I'll tell you, my husband's at his company for 15 years. You know what he got for his 15-year anniversary this year?
What?
He got a $300 gift card, but it's a gift card to the company.
Oh.
So, like, you can use that money at his workplace. $300 for 15 years. And I was like, my jaw just dropped. I was like, are you kidding me? I have to stand on my head to appreciate these people. Like, $300, I would laugh in my face over that.
Yeah.
I've got to come up with a bonus and good hours, and you got to go pick up your kid, and we're not working Saturdays, and we only work 4 days a week, and I got to do all of that.
Yeah.
But then you come back around and you're like, okay, well, for my husband, you do work 5 days a week. You do, like, whatever. Like, there's always give and take of what you get from someone, is my point.
Exactly.
And so I think the dental world has a really good way of really just getting in your own box and having zero clue. I mean, I see this with dentists, too.
Yeah.
I see this with dentists where I'm like, dude, like, how did you not know that? Or what did you... I had a dentist the other day. It was asking me about an emergency plan because Texas, the state board has this rule that you have to submit, you have to have an emergency plan. And she had a Heimlich maneuver as part of her emergency plan. I'm like, what are you doing? That's your emergency plan? Like, she had a card from the Heimlich maneuver and first aid guide. I'm like, that is not an emergency plan,
Yeah.
friend. Like,
No.
there's more to it than that. But she had no idea, because it's just her and her own island, and she sees this requirement come down. Oh, I'm supposed to have one of these. What could that be? What's an emergency? If somebody choking, that's an emergency. Here you go. Like, you know what I mean? Like, so it's just people, like, I think between assistants and hygienists, even the doctors, that you get in your bubble, and like that becomes your family life, and that's your norm, and that's not norm.
Yeah.
In the world of families.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And I think we've lost an art of gratitude.
Yeah.
You know, I think we're so inundated with all these images of, look at how much better this person's life is, or this practice, look at how much better that place probably is. And I do think just this simple art of gratitude, like, let me just take a moment, rather than walking into dental assistant week with an expectation of what my boss needs to do for me. Why don't we walk in with, you know what, this week, it is a celebration of dental assistants. I'm going to be thankful for the fact that I was able to make it to a dental assistant license, the fact that I am healthy enough to come to work every day, the fact that I've got a great work environment, I've got people that I enjoy working with, I like my patient base. And you know what, every day this week I'm going to focus on something that I'm thankful for. And I feel like if we just took that mindset and just exploded onto every aspect of life, we'd have a very different population. But instead, I feel like it keeps kind of going in that direction of,
Poor me.
What about me?
Poor me. And I'm just
Yeah.
like, I don't have much energy to devote to that, because I think that's the same thing. If you've been here for 10 years and you've put up with my shit, I guarantee I put up with your shit.
Mm-hmm.
Don't come in here acting like you came in giving, and all I've done is take from you for 10 years. No. If that's what you think, then you need to go back and reflect on every day that you've either called in sick, or you whined about whatever, or you let your license lapse, or you broke your arm and you couldn't assist and I'll let you work anyway. Like, no, it is a give and take. And so where is you want me to send you on a Disney cruise because you've worked for me for 10 years? Then where are you sending me?
Right.
Are you buying my ticket for said cruise? Like, I don't know. Like I said, I'm being uber crusty here, but I just don't get it. I don't.
Yeah.
The other one do we still have time?
Yes.
To talk about that? Okay. So another one that came up kind of today, and she meant nothing by it. I know that, but it just kind of like, she has no way of knowing that it kind of poked me, if you will. But I had a team member who went to a friend of mine for some general dental work, and she came back and she said, oh yeah, she gave me this discount, whatever. And I was like, oh, okay, that was really nice of my friend to give you a discount. And then she said, yeah, because when her assistant brought her kid to us, we did it, we just did it for their for whatever their insurance was, and then we were going to do professional courtesy. And, if they didn't have insurance, like, I didn't know if they had insurance or not, but I was just going to do a comp because it's my best friend's assistant's kid. Well, and that was that. She was appreciative for the discount, whatever. But part of me, she left, and the verbiage to me just stuck with me. She's like, and I said to her, she's been seeing my parents for 20 years for free. My parents get their teeth cleaned every 3 months. They're on 3-month, like, from perio. Yeah. My mom has had all on 4s done. And my friend has, just charged me the lab cost, but the number of times we've been in that office. And I'm like, so there's no way this team member of mine would know that. But to me, I'm like, if my friend is going to discount anything, I'd rather her discount it for my family than my team members that I don't know if they're coming or going, or if they're a help or a hindrance to me. You know what I mean? And so, again, my employee had no way of knowing that, but the verbiage that stuck out to me was, this is what we did for her. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, in my head, I'm like, who's the we?
Right.
What did you do? Did you work for free when that woman walked in? Did you pay for my supplies? Did you pay the RDAs who sat there? Did you pay for the sedation medications and all that? We did nothing.
Right.
Rena Kuba, saw that kid for free.
Yeah.
But that's because of my friend and my relationship with her. It has nothing to do, ma'am, with what you did. And what it was reminding me of was there's a buddy of mine who has a practice, and for his birthday once, just to be like an ass, I just thought it would be funny. I thought he'd get a kick out of it. I sent over like a singing chicken or whatever like that to his office. Well, stupid me, that planted the seed. So then my birthday comes around, and it was my 40th, and he sends over this giant mariachi band. So somebody in his office organized, researched, whatever. So this formal, like full costumes, every instrument, his whole staff, they come over with 40 balloons.
Oh my
A
gosh.
huge spectacle to try to make me feel special, which of course I hated every moment. I hated my office for as long as they would let me, right? And then the next year, whatever, I was like, please, because he wanted to go do a happy hour. I was like, please don't make me do that again. Just take me out to dinner. Please don't do something for everybody. Like, I don't like my own staff staring at me, let alone your staff staring at me too. But the gesture was super sweet. And he sent over this buffet, and the waiter with the buffet to serve us all. Like, it was over the top, right? Well, I had just done the chicken for his, albeit it had been half a year before. And now his birthday was coming up again, and I kind of forgot. And I was like, oh, shoot, his birthday's coming up. I'll just send some pizzas. Order Papa John's, Domino's, whatever it was. Hear through the grapevine that his office manager was like, yeah, well, we did all of this for Kuba's office, but they just sent over pizzas. And I was just like, are you effing kidding me right now?
Yeah.
We didn't do anything. Did you pay for that mariachi band, ma'am? Did you pay? You did nothing.
Right.
That was that doctor who did it for me, who happened to also do it because I'm his number one referral source.
Right.
So that's his way of saying thank you.
Yeah.
And when he sees my kids for their expanders for free, and now you expect me to see your kids for free, but you don't do anything for me.
Right.
It's his office.
Yeah. Yeah.
I had an associate that once was building his own office, and a buddy of mine they were getting a new piano or a new something, and he's like, hey, do you have any use of this piano, this older one? He's like, it's not that old, a couple years old. I said, no. The associate friend that was building an office was like, oh yeah, we send him a lot of patients. He should just give me that piano. And I thought, yeah, you work here, and technically you refer patients, but they're not your patients. They're my patients. Have you paid the marketing here?
Right.
When have you contributed to any of that?
Yeah.
This is not you. This is the relationship that we have in the business. So anyway, all of that to say, it just made me think of this whole we, and who is we?
Who is we?
Who is we?
Yeah.
How dare you?
Yeah. And again, it comes from this shifted mindset, because it's what's in it for me. You know, right? Like, even with this employee of yours that is talking about, and again, even though the expectations weren't there, kind of insinuating maybe she was expecting more from your friend, but it's the what's in it for me mindset. And I think that is where we've got to move away from that. And dental assistant week, hygiene day, administrative assistant day, all of that, I would challenge any of our non-dentist listeners to use it as a day of gratitude, to be thankful for your career. And don't, if you get trapped in this world of looking at all that's great that's happening out there, and that's going to make you bitter, turn it off. Turn it off. I myself am completely disconnected from social media. It is not good for me. I don't look at it. I don't want to know what everybody's doing in their life. I choose to focus on my life and be content with what we've got going on here. And I think that's a very helpful practice. So if leading up to dental assistant week, you're like, man, that's going to drive me crazy because my boss doesn't do anything, and that's going to make me bitter for the next couple months, turn it off. Turn it off for the week and don't look at it until dental assistant week has passed, and then you can resume your normal activities. And then I would say to our dentists who are listening, if you don't do anything throughout the year, great. Use this as an opportunity. Be consistent with it. That's what you said earlier that I think is so critical. Whatever you do for those dental assistants better be the exact same thing that you do for your hygienist, better be the exact same thing you do for your front office. So be consistent. Let that be when you go over the top. If you already go over the top and you still want to acknowledge throughout, like you go over the top throughout the year, you still want to acknowledge this week, great. Do something simple, small. Maybe you bring in donuts. Maybe you have a little handwritten card that you give to each of your dental assistants, and you're still acknowledging and appreciating them. Or if you do enough throughout the year, don't do anything. Like in your situation, you haven't done it. If you have done it in the past and then all of a sudden you stop, that probably requires an explanation to your team. It shouldn't require an explanation. But I think people get used to these general expectations. And so let them know, hey, you know, I love you guys, appreciate you guys. I'm going to show my appreciation in different ways throughout the year. So going forward, I'm not really going to focus on those dental assistant week, hygiene week, etc. So just clarify it for them. Sometimes that communication solves it in and of itself. But I totally get it. And then the anniversaries too. I think, to me, anniversaries really should not be celebrated until at least 3, 4, 5 years. Because the relationship is still new at this point. We haven't given each other enough value by year 1 or by year 2 or even by year 3 to even focus on it. And then if we choose to acknowledge, it can be something as simple as a card. I realize that you hit 3 years of your third anniversary. I really want to let you know that I appreciate you. These are the specific things that I appreciate you. Thanks for your years of service.
So I think my challenge with that is going to be because for as much as I babble here, but written word is hard for me to do.
Yeah.
And so then I'm like, I'm going to end up doing bullet points, because that's how I prefer to communicate, is these bullet points. But I think because I do something like that at Christmas.
Exactly.
And then now we've started kind of doing it at Valentine's too. And I'm like, how many more different ways can I say this? And I think for me then, I guess, again, me too, going, I have given you 4 years of service and I get a card. Mm-hmm. Like, that's what I would be afraid of the feeling being like, that's it? Is there anything in this card? And I'm like, so rather than potentially setting myself up for that kind of reaction, I'm just not going to acknowledge it at all.
Yeah.
Because, I don't know, I mean, I guess that's a backwards way of thinking about it, but that for me, it's like, I just, I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah. I think that's a valid point too. Honestly, it could send the alternative message, which you're not intending to send, because you acknowledged it at all. It's almost like if we ignore it, then there's no confusion. I've ignored it,
Exactly.
I know I've got some clients that will only celebrate like 5, 10, 15. And I think that's a good compromise too. Because then the whole team knows we celebrate when you hit your 5th anniversary and there's either a gift or I've got one client that does like a $500 bonus at 5 years and then a $1,000 bonus at 10 years, which makes sense. So you could just be like, hey, I'm going to focus on the big, which is kind of what we do in life, right? Like, even marriage, my husband and I are the worst at celebrating anything. Like, Valentine's Day, no-go. And it comes from this same philosophy. Valentine's Day, anniversaries, birthdays, whatever. We're just like, no. If we aren't showing love and appreciation throughout the year, spontaneously, then we got a problem. If we're only dependent upon Valentine's Day to be like, I profess my love for you, then we got a real problem in our relationship. And so I think the same concept is true in the work family, that we just show it throughout the year, believe the best in one another, don't be a taker, be a giver, be thankful, have a mindset of gratitude, and honestly, this goes away.
And I'm glad you said that, because actually, for me in my home life, he's the one who remembers our anniversary, not me.
Yeah.
So I'm consistent. Like, I don't remember it at work and I don't remember it at home. So, he'll be the one who's always reminding us on that. But it's, again, like, I get it. I get that you want to feel valued and important. I think my comment back is, but I do too.
Yeah.
I want to feel valued and important. And are you doing enough to make me feel that way?
Right.
Just because I'm the boss doesn't mean that I don't need to be acknowledged either. And so at what point, and I guess that's my next level of stress, is, okay, if I'm going to decide to do 5, 10, 15, I think that's where I was like, but what would I do at 5? Mm-hmm. Because at that point, we were doing these ridiculous bonuses, and people were getting $800 bonuses. So I can't give you a $500 bonus for 5 years because you already got an $800 bonus for doing nothing.
Right.
I mean, hitting the goals. So
right.
You did something. So I'm like, but I'm already acknowledging you with that. So how is this supposed to be special? And then now, if I didn't mark what you were expecting for what makes it special, then I'm hosed. So this gift could equally backfire on me, and it's just too much.
Yep.
It is too much, and I can't do it.
Yeah. I totally get that. And again, I think you're in a position to be able to do that without any negative consequences with your team, because you are so giving throughout the year. I think the only people that need to really think about these kind of predetermined celebrations are people that really do very little. And what is very little, saying nothing to your team, never showing your appreciation, but they don't show appreciation to me. Yeah, I know. I get that. But at some point, we need to be able to do something to show
Dare I
appreciation.
say, most of your clients are probably showing appreciation at least the last 4 years since the pandemic, right?
I definitely.
You almost have to.
You have to. You have to. In various ways. I mean, some small, some little bitty tokens, here and there, and some in big ways. So I feel like it's hard to not do that now because the expectation is there. So I'm glad you brought up your crunchy concerns and I'm glad you crusty. Crusty, crunchy, right? I mean, same thing.
Well, crunchy is like crunchy granola, and mine is crusty.
Yes,
I'm
yeah.
in a crust right now.
But I think it's a good topic. Hopefully, our dentists...
Hopefully you don't lose your whole listener base.
So to say, hopefully our dentists are encouraged and our team members who listen...
will never come work for me, I'll tell you that. It's going to be me, myself, and I. They're going to reach out to my team and be like, your boss is a bee. And I will be there, buying 10 more ISO dries.
Thanks for joining the conversation today. We hope that you are comforted in knowing that you are not alone, but we also hope that you're walking away with some really great tips and tricks to try in your practice. We value your feedback, so please take a few moments to rate and review the podcast. Finally, we want to make sure that we're covering the topics that matter to you. So track us down on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, and let us know what topics you want us to cover. As always, please know that we are rooting for you today as you manage your dental drama.